Good morning. I wanted to put together a quick video that talks about uh, how to identify the short-term momentum and then place a trade in accordance with that momentum. What you never want to do is try to swim upstream, and that takes too much effort, right? So here it is. If anybody's seen my charts, you know this is my favorite go-to setup. I got the four major index, the Nasdaq, the S&P, the Dow, and the Russell here. And as you could see from October 13th, they all look pretty much the same. There has been significant sell-off in that time period, and they all were trading above my 8 period EMA. So this is my 8 period EMA. They all were trading above it, and now they are all below my long-term EMA, which in this case is the 89. So there's been, well, with the exception of the Russell's still above it, but there is a exceptional sell-off that has been going. And now may be the time, if you think this momentum is continuing, is how to buy puts or sell calls in this market, right? Which is taking advantage of a downward momentum. And the VIX is just further confirming, even though it looks like it may be trying maybe a little less fear going into today. Fear has been increasing. So if I think there's a downward momentum, I'm gonna pick on the S&P for example. I'm going to Thinkorswim will give you a watch list that's based on sector. So I can chart each sector, and that's literally what's here. Let me bring my description out, right? And you can find this by just literally going here and then clicking on public. And then here, this is the S&P 500 sectors, right? And all I have to do now is find out what are the sectors that are driving that sell-off. I can literally chart the sectors. I have my watch list linked to my chart, right? So case in point, I could see oil and gas as an example they've had some sell-off. They're 2 bars out of a downward squeeze on a daily, right? Energy, they're 1 bar out of a squeeze on a downward momentum. I see that volume has increased. So now, if I wanted to do something like this, all I have to do is the easiest thing is to just find an ETF that would parallel that. So I have some ETFs here, right? So if I wanted to look at an energy ETF, right? So here's an oil and gas one as an example. I'm going to pick on that since that I came to that. I like this. This is the larger one. Oh, here's an energy one. The XLE is an example. And look, the XLE is doing the same thing, right? That you saw for the overall sector. It mirrors. It's identical. So I can play an option based on this XLE, right? Which is really just saying, and how did we come to this conclusion? Very simple. I looked at the overall market. I saw that the market was down. I looked at the overall market. I saw that this was down. I identified a sector that I thought may be contributing to it, right? So I'm just going to retrace my steps here. I found a sector that I thought was contributing to it, and energy in this case was contributing. Let's come here. Energy was an example is contributing one out of the squeeze downward momentum. So I found an ETF that would mirror that, right? And this is my personal list. You can Thinkorswim does have a list of ETFs, but I manually brought this one in. So I like the XOP. I'm sorry, that was an oil. I like the XLE, right? And look at it, one dot out the squeeze, right? You see it kind of sell off. It's been in an overall downward momentum. You still got to do your overall analysis. It's been in a downward momentum for a few months now. Looked like it was significant downward momentum, compressed a little bit, and it looks like it may be gearing up for further downward momentum, right? One block out of a big squeeze. So for me, this will be a prime candidate for buying puts, or I can sell calls, depending on which how you want to play that. But this is a way to take advantage of the downward momentum in the market.